Hello, everybody. Welcome into Davis Up Front from Compass Football. Jason Davis with you, taking a look at some of the biggest stories in the beautiful game. Let's start with Jose Mourinho. The special one is back. Well, he's back on television after getting fired by Manchester United back on December 18th. Jose with beIN Sport in Qatar as part of the Asian Cup coverage for that channel. Had a couple of interesting things to say while on television in Qatar. In fact, Jose said he's already turned down 3 job offers since he was fired by Manchester United, but none of them exactly right for him. He seemed very interested in criticizing some of his contemporaries in world football. He mentioned Unai Emery and the handling of some of his high-profile players, which is extremely rich considering what happened at Manchester United, where, of course, Jose had a high-profile contretemps with Paul Pogba, among others. Did not go well in his relationships, and here's Jose on television telling Unai Emery how to better handle his players with care, something Jose had no interest in while he was at Manchester United. Of course, Jose, being the special one, having the ego that he does, naturally mentioned his record. He naturally mentioned that at Real Madrid, he set a record for points and for goals with that club. It started talking about the phrase "park the bus" and suggested that that came out of his stint at Real Madrid, which I'm not sure jives with reality. Of course, Jose comes by his reputation and his philosophy honestly. He defended that reputation. He mentioned when asked about possession, he kind of talked his way around the idea that possession was important when asked directly whether or not having the ball was important, suggested that it's all about possessing the ball to an end, but not necessarily possessing the ball to be good. You can win without possessing the ball. Jose Mourinho sticking to his guns when it comes to the way he likes to play. He also talked about the double standard, or what he believes to be a double standard in terms of behavior on the touchline. Here's a quote from Jose. He said, "When Mourinho behaves bad on the touchline, when Mourinho kicks a bottle, when Mourinho does this, when Mourinho does that, he's out, he's suspended. He's paying for this. When Jurgen Klopp does it, he's special. When Pep Guardiola does it, he's special. When Mourinho does, he's out." Some saltiness from Jose Mourinho post-Manchester United stint, talking about 2 of the bigger names in England, the 2 gentlemen leading the clubs to the top of the table in England right now, and certainly the 2 managers most celebrated in world football, Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola. Jose went on to declare again finishing second to Chelsea in the Premier League as one of his greatest achievements. "If I tell you, for example, that I consider one of the best jobs of my career to finish second with Manchester United in the Premier League," he told beIN Sport, "you say this guy is crazy. He won 25 titles and is saying finishing second position was one of his best achievements in football. I keep saying this because people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and sometimes we, on this side of the cameras, we analyze things in a different perspective." Now, I actually agree with Jose to a point. We can't know as fans and as pundits what's going on behind the scenes at Manchester United. We don't know if they're buying the players that Jose wants, if they're giving him the support. And he talked specifically about support in terms of Manchester United, in terms of Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola at their clubs where they are succeeding. Jose said he wants to come into a situation where he has support. He did mention the division of labor that's happening now at clubs around the world, that managers do not have the power that they used to have, that Jose is kind of man who comes from an era when the manager was making all of the transfer decisions, was the one spending the transfer kitty. Now, you usually have a director of football or somebody else who's in charge of dictating a club's policy when it comes to bringing in new players. So maybe time has passed Jose Mourinho by. When you watch this stint on television, Jose Mourinho doesn't seem like the kind of manager, the kind of person who's repentant about the way things that went at Manchester United or open to the idea of change. And as great as he was during his special one period, Chelsea, Inter, Real Madrid, Jose Mourinho looks like somebody who doesn't know how to keep up with the times. The philosophy of football has changed. The attitudes of managers have to have changed as well as media coverage changes around clubs. Jose Mourinho can't just get by on personality when you have clubs like Manchester City and Liverpool playing the way that they do, making Jose's Manchester United look dour and poor. And when it comes to management, It's no longer an era where it's my way or the highway for managers. When we're talking about £100 million transfers, you've got to be more forgiving. You've got to be more understanding. You have to work with those players in order to get the most out of them. There is no reason that Jose Mourinho should have failed at Manchester United there's no way he should have failed with the players he had available to him, including Paul Pogba, Alexis Sanchez, among others. Now, here's the thing. This is the rub. This is the thing that proves that perhaps Jose is getting passed by. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, since taking on the job at Manchester United in a caretaker capacity, hasn't lost a game. 7 wins out of 7. You know what Ole has done? Ole Gunnar has brought in, has picked the best team every time out. And he's had to make a couple of changes due to injury. But if you look at the history of Jose Mourinho, in 17 games this season prior to his firing, he made 53 alterations to his starting lineup. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has identified his best team and brought stability to the club, given Paul Pogba a reason to play with joy, to play with excitement, and it's obviously providing dividends to Manchester United. Now, of course, the question is for Manchester United whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be in the job come next season. There are rumors, Mauricio Pochettino among others, who could come in and take over at Manchester United, a club that made a mistake by hiring Jose Mourinho. One that was obvious from the get-go for anybody who's been watching that club. While Sir Alex Ferguson may have been special, and it'll be hard to replicate what he did in the team, probably never going to be another Sir Alex Ferguson. Jose Mourinho was so different to the mentality of Manchester United, so different to the perception of Manchester United as a mercenary coach who never lasts very long anyway, who does turn sour at some point, that when that milk spoils, there's no way to get it back. So we see. Now, Jose Mourinho, for his future, who knows? He's already said he expects to be coaching at the club level again, certainly by 2022, when the World Cup goes to Qatar, a place he's visiting. He's not going to want those players released during a Winter World Cup, much like anybody else. Somebody somewhere will give Jose Mourinho a job. The question is whether or not there's any other elite jobs still in the offing for the special one. Getting to the end of January, which means clubs are desperate to fill holes as they chase titles and Champions League berths and just staying up. One of the clubs desperate in this transfer window, bit of a surprise for some people, Barcelona, looking for some help behind Luis Suarez, 32 years old, forced to play almost every game after Barcelona sold Munir to Sevilla in this transfer window. Munir pushing his way out, not getting a new contract from Barcelona. With their contract nearly up for that 23-year-old striker, they were forced to sell him. So now what do? You go scrambling into the transfer market. There are no big money options, and you don't want to spend big money. That means that you're looking for players, you're looking at players who maybe most people wouldn't expect to be connected to Barcelona. So what did they do? Here's the list of players recently connected to Barcelona as they look for a backup option for Luis Suarez. First, Fernando Llorente, the striker at Tottenham Hotspur, of course, famously scored 118 goals in 333 games at Athletic Bilbao. Not exactly a young pup, but an experienced hand. Not always reliable in front of goal. In fact, Tottenham fans will tell you as much. But Tottenham needs to hold on to Fernando Llorente because he needs to back up Harry Kane, who's currently out injured as Tottenham tries to consolidate their position in the Premier League. So Llorente may be out. What about Olivier Giroud at Chelsea? This rumor never really picked up a whole lot of steam, seemed to fade away, but Giroud makes a lot of sense as a player to come off the bench or perhaps get a spot start for Barcelona if they're looking for a striker to back up Luis Suarez, and a number 9 at that. What about Alvaro Morata? That would be a natural target, another Chelsea player. But Morata looks like he's going on loan from Chelsea to Atletico Madrid after not being in the plans for Mauricio Sarri. So Alvaro Morata is now scratched off the list officially for Barcelona. What about Falcao, the Colombian striker, 32 years of age, of course came back from serious injury in order to return to form, currently at Monaco where he's been for quite some time. 7 goals, 14 appearances for Monaco, a very poor team in League right now. Could Falcao be an option for Barcelona? A couple of papers in Spain, including Mundo Deportivo, suggesting Falcao as a stopgap for Barcelona. What about Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, former Real Madrid striker, 35 years old, playing at Ajax, 9 goals in 16 matches, a very good return in the Eredivisie, a league that's not known for playing a whole lot of defense. So, who else could be on the list? This was an interesting one for Major League Soccer fans. Carlos Vela connected to a potential move to Barcelona. 29-year-old striker playing at LAFC in Major League Soccer. Not exactly a striker, not exactly a forward. More of a slashing player. 14 goals, 13 assists, 28 games played for LAFC in 2018. That team's inaugural season on a designated player contract, which means he's pretty valuable to LAFC for a couple of reasons. One, leading goal scorer, fantastic creative player, can help that team do things in the playoffs again in 2019 if he's around. And he helps sell tickets. Carlos Vela, a massive Mexican star in a city with a massive Mexican-American population. Carlos Vela, at Media Day this weekend with Major League Soccer, when asked about the rumors connecting him to Barcelona, said, "I'm happy here, I'm happy in Los Angeles, but at no point did he rule out a move to Barcelona." Now, Carlos Vela is famously a player who plays soccer but doesn't necessarily love soccer. Would he be up for a move to Barcelona? Of course, it's one of the most famous clubs in the world. And Vela came to LAFC after spending a number of years with Real Sociedad. So he's got La Liga experience, and he would probably come pretty cheap if LAFC had any interest in selling him. The only way it seems likely that Vela would end up at Barcelona is if he forced his way there, a la David Beckham, back in his early MLS years when he forced that loan to AC Milan in a bid to stay with the England national team. Vela may not be interested in playing at Barcelona to help his Mexican national team prospects. He just may be interested in playing at Barcelona. So that's the list. Vela, Llorente, Giroud, Morata, Falcao, Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. These are the players connected to Barcelona. Oh, and let's add one more to the list. Officially done as of Monday, Kevin Prince Boateng, German-born Ghanaian international playing at Sassuolo in Italy, in Serie A. His 9th club, which means Barcelona will be his 10th club since he broke in at Hertha Berlin back in 2005. He scored 4 times in 13 matches for Sassuolo this season. He joins with an option for Barcelona to buy him at the end of the season for 8 million euros. Kevin Prince Boateng, 31 years of age, not exactly a forward, can play a number of positions on the attacking end of the field. Just reinforcements for Barcelona. Just another body to help them get through a period where their squad is being stretched thin. There doesn't seem to be any young players coming through at La Masia that can step into the void to help carry the burden for Luis Suarez. And this is a club that's going to need to find that bridge to get themselves to a post-Luis Suarez existence. Suarez has been brilliant for Barcelona during his career there. But now you see Barcelona painted themselves into a corner. And the January transfer window bringing some very interesting stories. Signing Kevin Prince Boateng connected to a number of players you wouldn't necessarily expect to be connected to Barcelona. That's it for Davis Up Front. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. All of the Compass football programming coming at you on those social media platforms. Thank you.